The night the power went out, it wasn't a city malfunction, an errant thunderstorm, or a short-circuiting transformer that left my house in darkness. It was a bout of pettiness, reduced to its most ridiculous form, exerted by Vanessa Reed, president of the HOA, who ran Oakage Estates with an impeccably manicured fist. At 2 a.m., amidst the worst heat wave our state had ever known, temperatures reaching 112 degrees Fahrenheit, with proclamations of rolling blackouts. Vanessa, equipped with bolt cutters and a sanctimonious grin, slunk through my side yard like a baddie in a poor comedy. She considered my solar panels and industrial generator an eyesore to the neighborhood's undefiled complexion. So she cut the main wire supplying my emergency grid, scurrying off, with the smugness of thinking she'd stopped an apocalyptic blight. But she'd only clipped my power. She'd lit a war. And I, Ethan Caldwell, wasn't one to give up, especially not to someone whose greatest feat was outlawing inflatable Easter bunnies. Vanessa had no idea that her sabotage would ignite a rebellion, turning her frivolous blackout into her own downfall. 3 hours prior, I'd been reclined in my living room, soaking up the frigid air of my industrial-strength AC, the roar of my fortress-like installation, overpowering the news anchor's ominous declarations. Stay indoors, hydrate, prepare for outages. The heat wave was a monster, but I was prepared. Solar panels covered my roof. A battery bank the size of a small car hummed in the garage, and a generator waited to kick in. Months of planning had turned my house into a refuge from chaos, but I hadn't planned for Vanessa, who detested my refusal to bow to her HOA dictates, my forest green front door unapproved, solar panels installed without her approval, my Dodge Ram parked in the driveway. A crime against her garage-only mandate. To Vanessa, I was a rebel. To me, I was just a man living his life, uninterested in her suburban dictatorship. Vanessa lived 3 houses down in a gaudy colonial, its lawn adorned with plastic flamingos that mocked her own HOA rules. As the self-anointed guardian of standards, she terrorized neighbors while ignoring her violations. She'd fined Ellen Gwynn for her dog's excessive tail, wagging-sided Tony Garcia for unapproved marigolds, and tried to ban my grill claiming burger fumes violated air quality. When the power outage, my home went quiet to witness dead fans stuck, blackness, pure heart thudding. I went to check the breaker and generator. Both were normal. Then I drew up my security feed. There, in grainy glory, was Vanessa in flip-flops and a shine bright tee, cutting my power line with glee, twirling her bolt cutters like a baton before she slipped away into night. Anger boiled, boiling me to barge her door. But in sweating heavily in the suffocating heat, a chill, sharper plan emerged. Vanessa craved a blackout. She'd have one by herself alone. I'd illuminate Oakage, every house but hers, and turn her sabotage into a neighborhood success. By dawn, I'd turn our block a radiant oasis, leaving Vanessa's place a hot crypt. My auxiliary power system, designed for emergencies, could serve neighbors with adjustments. I spent the night diverting lines, setting wireless relays, and calibrating circuits. By dawn, each house, but Vanessa's glowed with light and cooled air. ACs thundered, garage doors rolled up. Dazed but thankful neighbors appeared amazed at their deliverance. Children played in sprinklers. Ellen lifted a lemonade and toast, and waves took the place of tight knots. Vanessa made her way out in a worn robe, flashlight clutched in her hand, her hair a damp muss. She stood fists on hips, glaring at the sun-kissed street, her face a mask of incredulity and anger. She strode to organize her HOA minions, but they were reclining in their cooled homes, disregarding her desperate calls. From my window drinking coffee, I saw her dial and pace her kingdom falling. I could have regained her authority, but this was about principal survival of the least petty. Vanessa had bullied Oakage for years, discovering wrong flowers and boisterous laughter. Now I'd make her the outcast. As morning dawned, the block hummed with activity. Vanessa, dissolving in her yard, attempted flagging a utility truck. The driver, after a perplexed exchange, shrugged and drove off. She pulled orange extension cords to Ellen's outlet, but Ellen, with my video in hand, confronted her, yelling about trespassing and no ride on her back. Vanessa backed down, cords trailing. As neighbors guffawed, later, Tony sent a photo, Vanessa rigging cords to a public light pole captioned, "Legal?" I responded, "Not a chance. A city crew showed up warning her about fines for tampering. Her desperation was a show, each failure tightening the noose of her own making. Grilling steaks one evening, I conceived a bolder plan, a block energy festival to seal Vanessa's isolation. I sent texts, printed out flyers, and by noon, my yard was a carnival. Grills, sizzled coolers were brimming with ice drinks, and a local band played under solar-powered. Lights, neighbors danced, kids bounced in an inflatable castle, and laughter overwhelmed the heat. Vanessa's house towered dark, a silent monument to her folly. Glances her way elicited smirks, Garma in the workplace. Halfway through, she appeared clipboard, held high, yelling about unofficial meetings. The mob ignored her. Some jeered raising cups. I called out, "Come join us." Vanessano bolt cutters audibly. Laughter burst out. She fell over her cords, sprawling into a rosebush clipboard, flying like a white flag. Embarrassed, she slammed her door, dust falling from her porch. The festival glowed into dusk lights twinkling while Vanessa's windows remained dark. Tony clapped my shoulder. "Should have done this years ago," I smiled, pulled out one bolt cutter and the worst HOA president. The next day, pictures of our lit block inundated community groups, a beacon in a heat-scorched city. Messages poured in thanking me for rescuing Oakage Vanessa. Unbowed handed out flyers for an emergency HOA meeting to condemn my illegal grid and party requiring attendance with veiled threats. I tacked her flyer on my fridge, laughing. She tried to bully us back in line. She was on the verge of learning the tide had shifted. The meeting was called at 6 p.m. In her driveway, a creaky table supporting a dog-eared HOA policies binder. Only 20 neighbors smirked or sipped iced beverages present for the spectacle. Vanessa accused me of putting Oakage at risk with an unauthorized grid. Her voice rising, I let her vent, then handed her a folder signed Neighbor Consents, City Ordinances, permitting private sharing of power, and an official's email expressing admiration for my grid's relief to odd system. I circulated it around neighbors. Smiled Vanessa's face, reened Ellen with megaphone from her lawn chair. Suggested removing Vanessa for misconduct. Cheers erupted. Vanessa screamed about legality, but ballots popped up out of a repurposed trash bin. The vote was a path to votes, for her, most likely, not her partners. I was appointed utility coordinator, a new job sealed by resolution. Vanessa stumbled, running away from her clipboard, a surrender flag in the ground. The neighborhood organized a freedom barbecue, but she wasn't finished Saturday. Tony sent a picture of Vanessa with a suspicious electrician messing with our grids lines behind her house. I called the police officers, caught them in the act. The electrician accusing Vanessa led him astray. She was charged with utility tampering serious and a heatwave emergency. Neighbors took photos. Glee barely disguised. I met the new HOA committee advocating a civil suit for vandalism, endangerment, and damages. Evidence, footage, statements, photos was overwhelming. Vanessa settled, paying hefty damages and selling her house to cover costs. Her for sale sign marked her defeat. Moving trucks arrived. Neighbors watched, sipping drinks, cheering softly as Vanessa's BMW vanished. I proposed a permanent solar tower in the park. Unanimously approved. Volunteers built it, a sleek beacon of resilience. At its unveiling under twinkling lights, I revealed a plaque, "Light over pettiness, the Vanessa blackout." Laughter roared, kids played, neighbors bonded, the tower a testament to unity. On my porch, Tony had handed me a beer. Her bolt cutters had begun this, he said. I nodded. Darkness forced us through building light. Oakage flourished free from Vanessa's shadow, a community illuminated by trust. Not fear, demonstrating one act of sabotage could ignite a legacy of defiance. The aftermath was like waking up in a new world. Neighbors hung around mailboxes, shared tools, and hosted potlucks. Ellen's unauthorized roses bloomed boldly. Tony's porch swing acquired teal. Defiant, I drew solar plans for each house, electricians volunteering for the elderly. Half the block had backup systems in weeks. Our grid, a permanent cooperative, gratitude overwhelmed. My neighbors left pies, kids drew power, hero cards. Vanessa's house remained dark, a relic of her reign. Her requests for aid, flopped allies, waved and walked away. One night I caught her glaring from her porch, a fading specter. I didn't gloat. Her isolation was her own doing. Then came her last gambit. A neighbor texted, "Vanessa with a dubious electrician stringing cables to our grit." I alerted the police who apprehended her mid-rhyme. She wailed on rights, but charges loomed: tampering, vandalism, jeopardizing lives in a crisis. The civil suit shattered her. She sold her home, fleeing to her kin. The tower's completion was a fiesta: food, music, children racing under solar lamps. The plaques unveiled drew cheers, a nod to our triumph. As I strolled home, the street glowed with conversation, and barbecues felt Vanessa's blackout hadn't shattered a ply. It created a community that would sustain through any storm.